In 1948, over 750,000 Palestinians were displaced during the Nakba, the catastrophe that reshaped the Middle East. Today, Gaza, home to 2.2 million people, 66% of whom are descendants of those refugees, faces a new existential threat. On February 4, 2025, U.S. President Donald Trump unveiled a plan as audacious as it is controversial: permanently resettle Gaza's Palestinians abroad and transform the enclave into a U.S.-controlled Riviera of the Middle East.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. And I don't want to be cute, I don't want to be a wise guy, but the Riviera of the Middle East, this could be something that could be so bad, this could be so magnificent. We can get a beautiful area to resettle people permanently in nice homes and where they can be happy and not be shot. Why would they want to return? The place has been hell.
But what drives this proposal? And why has it ignited a firestorm of global condemnation? Hosting Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Trump declared Gaza a demolition site and proposed relocating its 1.8 million residents to Jordan, Egypt, or safer communities. Framed as a humanitarian and economic opportunity, Trump vowed to rebuild Gaza into a glittering hub of tourism and jobs under U.S. control. A long-term ownership position requiring no American troops. Yet critics were swift to label it ethnic cleansing, a violation of international law prohibiting forced population transfers. The plan's ambiguity fueled outrage. Where would 2 million people go? How would resettlement be voluntary in a war-torn enclave? Trump offered no legal basis, only grand promises. New and modern homes funded by great development teams. Meanwhile, Gaza's rubble, 50 million tons from 15 months of war, loomed as a grim backdrop. Within hours, Saudi Arabia condemned the plan, reaffirming support for Palestinian statehood. Egypt and Jordan, Trump's suggested hosts, rejected it outright, fearing destabilization. Even allies balked. Senator Lindsey Graham called deploying U.S. troops a non-starter, while the UN human rights chief underscored international law's ban on forcible transfers. Internally, Trump's team scrambled. Secretary of State Marco Rubio reframed the plan as temporary relocation for reconstruction, while Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt called Gaza uninhabitable. Yet Trump doubled down on Truth Social. No soldiers needed, stability will reign, a stark contrast to his aides' tempered rhetoric. Trump's plan eerily echoes past displacement efforts. In 1949, the U.S. backed UNRWA to resettle Palestinians via jobs in host nations, a scheme rejected by refugees determined to return home. By the 1950s, UNRWA abandoned resettlement, shifting to education. Yet Israel's far right revived the idea. In 1967, 200,000 Gazans were expelled to Jordan. In 2023, leaked plans proposed Sinai resettlement. Trump, who defunded UNRWA in 2018, now repackages old ambitions. But history's lesson is clear. Palestinians resist exile. As Omar Shaban, a Gaza analyst, noted, displacement is not a solution. Today, Gaza stands as a symbol of modern devastation. After 15 months of war, over 70% of its structures lie in ruins, and 2.3 million Palestinians face a future where rebuilding seems unimaginable. The numbers are staggering. The 2023 to 2024 war left Gaza with over 50 million tons of rubble, 12 times the mass of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Entire neighborhoods vanished, reduced to jagged heaps of concrete and twisted metal. Schools, hospitals, and water systems collapsed, leaving 2.3 million people in a humanitarian catastrophe. The UN estimates 245,000 homes were damaged or destroyed, displacing 1.9 million people, nearly 80% of Gaza's population. For many, returning home means confronting a wasteland where streets once teemed with life. In northern Gaza, areas like Jabalia are described as beyond belief, with destruction so extensive that they resemble post-apocalyptic landscapes. Beyond the physical ruin lies an invisible toll. Unexploded bombs lurk beneath debris, posing lethal risks to civilians and aid workers. Toxic materials from destroyed buildings and munitions poison the soil, threatening agriculture and public health for decades. Thousands remain buried under collapsed buildings, their bodies unrecovered due to the sheer scale of destruction and lack of heavy machinery. The World Bank calculates direct damage at $18.5 billion, but the human cost is incalculable. Over 60,000 Palestinians killed, half women and children, and a generation traumatized by loss, displacement, and relentless violence. Even if Gaza were allowed to rebuild itself and funds materialized, Israel's blockade looms large. Since 2007, restrictions on dual-use items like cement and steel, deemed tools for Hamas's tunnels, have crippled rebuilding efforts. The UN warns that under the blockade, reconstruction could take 350 years. Meanwhile, Gaza's economy has regressed to 1955 levels, erasing 69 years of progress. Unemployment has soared to 80%, and Gaza's contribution to the Palestinian economy has plummeted. The blockade not only stifles reconstruction, but also perpetuates a cycle of poverty and dependency, leaving Gazans with little hope for a self-sustaining future. The psychological scars run deep. Over 12,000 critically ill and injured patients, including 5,000 children, urgently need medical evacuation, yet only 35 to 40 are transferred daily due to limited access. Mental health services, already scarce before the war, are now virtually non-existent, with only 2 psychiatrists remaining in northern Gaza. The trauma of losing loved ones, homes, and communities has left an indelible mark on Gaza's population, with widespread reports of stress, anxiety, and depression. The environmental devastation is equally alarming. An estimated 85,000 tons of explosives were dropped on Gaza, contaminating the land and water sources. The destruction of water infrastructure has left 411,000 people reliant on UN-distributed drinking water, far below the actual needs. Agricultural lands once vital for food security are now littered with debris and unexploded ordnance, rendering them unusable. Without lifting the blockade and ensuring unrestricted access to rebuilding materials, Gaza's recovery will remain a distant dream, and its people will continue to suffer in a man-made purgatory. But Gaza's story is one of relentless resilience. From the Nakba to today, its people have defied expulsion. Trump's plan, steeped in historical amnesia, overlooks this truth. As UNRWA learned decades ago, there is no substitute for justice. The world now watches. Will Gaza's tents become permanent slums? Or will its people reclaim their right to rebuild? Amid the rubble, a question lingers. Can a Middle Eastern Riviera erase 75 years of struggle? Or will Gaza, as always, rise, not as a real estate venture, but as a testament to endurance?